Shadi Ali, aka SRD, with my main man Jay Sean and your man too. Jay Sean, aka Mr. F Love.
What's up?
We missed. We want to apologize for last week, but one of our 17th Ave family brothers got married, and we had to attend that. We had to go and make our presence known and support the brother. Because he was bringing a new family member into the 17th Ave family. So,
Indeed, yep.
you know,
Indeed, indeed.
yeah, yeah. So, what's going on with you, brother?
Nothing, man. Same old. Like you said. Had a nice time. Uh, Down in the Carolinas. Uh, Felt good. You know what I mean, to get away and attend a glorious event like a wedding. It's always a good thing. And then to be around a lot of love is also a good thing too. So when you come back, when you leave something like that, well, when you leave something like that and come up to back up here, it take you a minute to readjust.
I could dig it. I definitely could dig that.
It definitely take you a minute to readjust, but hey, it is what it is.
All right. So, let's get into it. Our first topic is past relationships and present love. I want to start off with something that comes up almost every relationship at some point. Should you talk about your past relationship with the person you're with now? And if you do, how much is healthy and how much becomes unnecessary baggage? So let's unpack that.
Um, should you talk about past relationships with your new relationship?
Yeah.
Um, I think you should. Um, I think it matters. I don't know how much in depth you might should get about it, but I think it really matters because sometimes it give you an idea of who you dealing with. If if you just meeting somebody and you thinking about making a relationship with her, you definitely want to know the kind of guy she was dealing with. You know what I mean? She might. I mean, I don't know if that'll affect that. I don't know if that's gonna affect your relationship, but I think it will help you understand the person more. Uh, they might have been somebody that just dealt with athletes. Then she might have been somebody who just messed with people in prison. Uh, she might just dealt with people with college degrees. Um, so for me, I would like to know some of the things that a person I'm getting into a new relationship with. I would like to know some of the things they did. Um, not to not to really dog them out, because everybody got a pass. But sometimes it might be helpful uh, from listening to her and the people she dealt with. You might find out that man, she just was always looking for love. You know what I mean? Or she was always looking for somebody to take care of, or a crutch or something. I don't know. So it go both ways, but for me, I think I would want to know. Um, not sit down and everybody you talk to or have sex with, not everybody, but I think I would like to know maybe 80% of what she did before I met her. What about you?
I mean, like I said, how much is healthy and how much become unnecessary baggage. You know what I mean? So as you said, it's a thin line. It's a thin line of how much you want to discuss, and
Right,
then how much that may kind of make you start looking at the person differently, or they may start looking at you differently.
right,
You know, so it's something that is necessary to be mindful of. Okay, if I'm speaking on something from the past, is this helpful for my present relationship, or would I speak on some relationship in the past and it may, you know, cause problems in my present relationship? So it's just a matter of, I guess, the two individuals, how comfortable you two are with each other, and you know how much both of you feel comfortable sharing. You know, so that's the thing when it comes to that. You just want to be kind of careful because some people have a tendency of using things that you tell them to come back at you later on on in different occasions.
right.
So it's definitely something that you want to be mindful of, that it doesn't become a hinder in your present relationship. So
That's
that's my
true.
opinion when it comes to
That's
that.
true. Because you don't know whether then it becomes an issue of, are you hiding things? So you know what I mean? Is it healthy? Are you hiding things? I guess it's up to the people. You know what I mean? The kind of individual you was. Like what you just said that I might be a person that use it against you.
Right.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So you got to be careful of that.
Yeah. So you definitely want to be mindful of that. You definitely don't want to, you know, give somebody ammunition to use against you later on. You
Right.
know, that's I guess that's the best way that I can state it.
That's a good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So
Um,
any of you out there, be mindful. You're in new relationships. Be mindful of how much you discuss with your new person, so that you
exactly.
don't have them looking at you in a way that you don't want them to look at you.
Right. Um, that was good. That was a good one. Okay. Oh man. This is a tough one. I'm glad you going first. Uh, do you think men understand the impact of understand the impact of having the impact of having an abortion has on a woman?
Do I think men understand how impactful it is for a woman to have an abortion? I think that's personally. I don't think men get it. You know what I mean? I don't think we get it because men don't have the privilege to carry a life inside of them. You know, a woman has that privilege to carry a life inside of them for X amount of months. And as men, we have the privilege to plant the seed, but it has to be uh, something spectacular when you have a person in your body that is feeding off of what you eat and living off of what you live, and that person is with you every day, all day for X amount of months, and then to get in a point where you have a person in you, and now for whatever reason you abort that person. You abort it. And some people say, if it's a certain amount of months, it's just a blood clot, and other people say, as soon as you consider being pregnant, it's a life. So that's a whole nother argument. But I think you know the damage for some, especially if they don't want to get the abortion. You know what I mean? If they mess around and a man kind of turn away and say that he's not gonna, he don't want to take care of the child, then you know, and the woman is kind of forced because she don't want to bear a child by herself. I think that becomes really difficult for her and less difficult for the man because I've been in that situation myself. I'm sure most of us who guys have been in situations like that where you know you wanted the pleasure of having sex, but you didn't want what came with having the baby, and you kind of push that on the woman, even though the end result is on the woman, whether she chooses to abort the baby or not. But I think we don't really comprehend what they go through afterwards. Somebody going up in your body and pulling something out of your body, and some women have messed around and they after that one abortion something go wrong, they can mess around and not be able to have any children. So no, I don't think we as men get it when it comes to what a woman goes through, the psychological and emotional part. I don't think we get that. How it affects their mind, how it affects them emotionally, and the other aspect of how it affects their body. I don't think we as men comprehend that. And if any of you guys do get it, hey, leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. Go ahead, brother. What is your thoughts?
Um, I don't, I don't think the men really understand the impact of it. It's almost like what you said. The woman carries a child inside of them for 9 months, and well, if they have an abortion, it's not gonna be 9 months. But even to know that a seed has been planted inside of you, uh, I think that does something. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, the man he might just not be ready to have children, or he might not want a baby by that certain person, or she might not want to have a baby by him. You know what I mean?
True.
And she might have to deal with the consequences later on. Um, but I don't think that a man understands the impact of it. I know, like you said, we all been in that situation, and I never really thought of anybody else's feelings. Um, you just don't want you. Maybe you just not mature enough. You're not ready for a responsibility. You might be married. It's a lot of aspects of why men, more men want it than a woman. But if you don't understand the impact at the time, you will definitely understand it later. Because, like I said, I've been in that situation numerous times, and now that I'm older, I think about it. You know what I mean? A lot. like what it could have been, or how many children you could have had, or what what it would have been, or this and that. So I don't think we understand the impact that it have on women, and I don't think we understand the impact that it have on men later on.
Good point. Good point. Good
Yeah,
point. Some of us, I believe you're right, will think back and say, wow, what that child would have been like, now, after 18, 25 years or so. You know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's move right along. You know,
Okay.
this topic is choosing the wrong partner. Now, since we was on the subject of relationships prior to that question, you know, let's keep it real. Like, let's keep it real. A lot of people struggle when it comes to choosing the right partner. What are some of the biggest mistakes people make when they're out here trying to pick someone to build a life with? Because, sometimes it's not the dating pool, it's the decisions we make, the people we choose. You know what I mean? So
So
what
what are some of the biggest red flags?
or yeah, mistakes. You could call it red flags. When
What
you're trying to
it
choose
was what?
someone, when
Oh,
you're trying to choose a mate, a partner.
well, what are some of the biggest mistakes that we make?
Yeah,
Um, some of the biggest mistakes. I think some of the biggest mistakes that we make when we meet people is, and I think you said this before a lot too, is that um, we we lead with our the wrong head, and we looking for we see lust before we see love, or plain we see booty. You know what I mean? Before beauty. A lot of times, um, when you meet people, even though it's a physical attraction, I don't think a lot of people was able to separate that the physical from the mental. I probably been there too in my younger days, but I don't think I ever really when younger growing up. I don't think I ever really said I'm looking for a girl with a big brain. I can't remember ever saying that. Or I'm looking for me a intelligent woman. I'm looking for me a college major or somebody with a doctorate or a master's. I'm looking for a CEO. Like I don't think I ever did that. So to me, the biggest mistakes that you can make is looking beyond that. Um, Looking beyond the other things that matter, like her intellect, her her goals, her not and her accomplishments at the time of y'all meeting. You know what I mean? And just zeroing in on the sexual point of it. And I think most of us just look at that. We just look at the body, and then we look at the head. You know what I mean? I don't even know if that's wrong to do. I don't even know. I just know that's how it is. You know what I mean? You see something, you look for the attraction, like, oh man, she got a nice body. Let me kick it with her. you know. And a lot of times the attitude or her knowledge or her wisdom don't match the physical. So I would say the biggest mistake that we make is not looking for what's in her mind, just looking for, the physical. That's what I would think. What about you?
I agree with you. I'll go as far as saying that many times as men we're concerned with vagina rather than personality.
Right,
And then once you get the vagina, now you see the personality rather than getting the personality first. Because sure, you do want some type of attraction. Now it's it's normal to be attracted to someone physically. Now
right,
and it's also superficial because beauty, as they say, is only skin deep. So now what does the person have inside? And I think this is the cause many relationships don't work is because both men and women do this. You know what I'm saying? They look for superficial stuff and then they're not really interested in things that they can actually build a family with, build a foundation with, a person that can help them grow, and a person that will help them grow. What it all comes down to is about finding somebody that's going to enhance you to be the best you can be, and you are going to be able to enhance them to be the best they can be. Because sex comes a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So once you find somebody that you really connect with and you really got some huge foundation with, you know, that's a beautiful thing that many people search for their whole life and never find. Once they've gotten through with just running up on people, like making the mistake of running up on people like the past Winston, making the mistake of running up on people just for superficial reasons. Some people run up on people for money. Some people like people for cars. And now they got this thing where they're promoting in the rap songs women promoting penis size. You know what I'm saying? So they running in for, the guy with the biggest penis. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different things that are superficial that are not helping the family and helping the individuals to be better than they were prior to meeting the person. So that would be my thing. Choose personality over vagina. You know, choose intimacy over lust. So that's
yeah.
my opinion on it.
Moving right along. Uh, okay, let's get to the author point of views. Um, in your book, you wrote about having late night talks with your moms. Why was that important for you to put in your book?
It was important to me to put in the book because having those late night talks with my mom, one helped me to realize that she was more than a mother. I think too many, males only see their mother as their mom. They don't see their mother as a woman, as once upon a time a girl, or as a person with struggles, with you know different different things that happen in it, different events that shape them. You know, hang ups, setbacks, imperfections. You know, as males, we have a tendency to, if we see our mom with imperfection, as males, in some cases, we look at them like they're less than. But the reality is, look, we have imperfections, they have imperfections. And they struggle with certain things in life just like we struggle with certain things in life. And those conversations helped me to realize that my mom had those many different sides to her that made her who she was at that time and who she is at this time. And the other reason that I wrote it because those conversations a lot of time was about guidance and discipline, and the guidance and discipline that I received from her, I utilized that on the block. Structure. She started talking about it, at the wedding. When we first met, I was raking the yard. I was doing chores, raking the yard. You know, and you know, the, you know, when people come to the crib, they had to wait till I finished doing my chores. But that made me responsible. That helped me later on in life to be responsible. I remember when we were younger, I used to say to you, you used to be like, man, I don't iron my clothes. I'd be like, man, you better learn how to iron. You better learn how to cook, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I said, because
yeah,
a woman may do it for you, but you don't want to depend on her to have to do it for you.
yeah,
Those were lessons, life lessons that helped me to, become the man I am today and the man that I'm striving to be in the future. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah,
that's why those
definitely.
conversations were important. Go ahead.
That's
What's your comments?
uh huh.
What's your comments like? How what kind of
Um,
conversation you used to have with your mom?
the older I got, the more um educational they got. You know what I mean? I learned a lot from my mom's, even though she was in that religious thing. I learned a lot from her. Still, things that she have said to me, they stick with me today. Um, and like you said, sometimes you just see them as your moms. You forget, or we forget that she went through life struggles. You know what I mean? She dealt with the things in the world, prejudice, slick men, um, uh, jobs, financial. You forget. We forget that they went through all that. You know what I mean? And I didn't really put it in my book stuff that she taught me, but we had a lot of deep conversations. The older she got, we had a lot of deep conversations, and I would advise people that's fortunate enough to still have their mother around to talk to her, ask her questions, uh, um, find out what's in her mind. You know what I mean? Because them old people, they be sitting on some jewels. They be sitting on some jewels, and they be sitting on some things that'll take you a long way in life, man. So, what they say, um, age is wisdom, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, with
Age is
age come
wisdom, right?
wisdom. With age come
With
wisdom.
age come with Yeah, with age come wisdom, man. That's a real statement. So yeah, talks I had with my mother, I say they was very impactful. The ones I wanted to hear and the ones I didn't want to hear. They both was impactful. Um, son, you. Yeah. That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, yeah. So, we just came from, reflections after our brother's wedding. This topic is that. You know, we just attended, our closest friend wedding last week. It was a beautiful ceremony, powerful vows, real love in the room, you know, so how did that make you sit back and reflect after it was over? How did you, after we came home, and you sat back and reflected, what did you come up with? What type of, thoughts did you have about the wedding, after watching, the wedding
Um,
ceremonies and everything?
you know, well, I had thoughts before I even left. While I was there, before, during, after. Um, Everybody real like they know how I feel about love, but I think that I'm more like it give you a chance to believe that is love still out there somewhere. You know what I mean? Because Prince is 62. He's same age as
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah.
So you got to think. I don't know how old his wife is, but you got to think about it. He's 62. He doing something neither one of us did. He getting married at 62. I think I got married at 20, and then again at I think I was maybe 48, maybe something like that.
Oh, okay.
48, I think. And how old was you when you got married?
Understanding God at 37 years old.
See, he was 30. He was young too. So you got to put it in the respect perspective that he, that Prince is 62 years old. So in a way, that should give people a lot of hope. And then uh, some people, it might not give hope because some people might say, you know, it took that long. Um, my thoughts on it is that you never know when love gonna hit you. You never know where it's gonna come from. You never know what year. You never know what time. You never know what place. Prince from New Jersey. He way down. His wife is from Henderson. So my thoughts were more like on it. My real thoughts were is that you never know. You never know when true love is gonna come, or where you're gonna find it. Whether you 32, 42, 22, 52, or 62, or 72. So I'm sure it was a lot of people there who was saying that, man, I still got a chance. You know what I mean? Because look at her. She found her a 62-year-old man that still looked probably like 42. Because we all still look young, other than the gray. But
Right.
but that was basically my thoughts. My basically thoughts was I was happy for him. And then I was saying that you never know you never know where love gonna come from. You don't know when it's gonna come, how it's gonna come or where it's gonna come. So I guess if people want to keep the door cracked open for love to come in, they can do it because we just
Absolutely.
witnessed it with our own eyes.
Absolutely.
Which what about you?
I mean, it was. I think the whole thing at being, equality wisdom, aka 62. You know, feeling that fulfilled with his desire to even want to get married. I think that is spectacular, and I think it's inspirational because you have a lot of people in their 40s, 30s who saying they don't even want to get married. You know what I mean?
Right.
And here,
That's true.
here he has found someone that he wants to spend the remainder of his life with. And, you know, seeing it and witnessing it and seeing how they interacted with each other and knowing, C Star for, some 50 years, you know what I mean? I see he's genuinely happy, you know,
Right.
and they have that special thing that many people want, that is worth, if you find that with someone, then it's worth like saying, look, let's make this thing official. Let's go ahead and let's tie it together. Let's tie the knot and do it. And that's what he did, and just listening to how she felt about it when she read her vows to him. I've seen him trying to hold back the tears, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Trying
Prince.
to hold back the tears, yeah. Because he felt it, and I felt it. You know what I mean? So, and it's special. So I, from witnessing that, I'm sure with the love thing, it shook your foundation where you like, hey man, this thing kind of real. I kind of see it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so,
That's what I was just
so
saying.
yeah, yeah. So it was definitely a great event. It was something to go to where we can enjoy one another. We have a tendency in our culture to get together only a lot of times for funerals. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that made the occasion that much more special because we were celebrating someone while they're still here. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think that's something that you know we are not doing often enough, celebrating each other while we're still here. Because now, getting off the subject a little bit, we have turned weights into life celebrations. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a real life celebration. Two people coming together from different lives, but being able to see something in each other that gravitated both of them towards each other, so much so that they both was willing to say, look, I'm willing to forsake all others just to spend my life with you.
Mm.
So that's a special bond that, and I congratulate them again. And, I wish them nothing but the best for many, many, many years to come. And just listening to how the family, he didn't just bring a new family member to the 17th Ave family. He became a new family member to her family. Just listening
Yep.
to the way that they felt about him, the way they feel about him, how he has been. a beacon of light in not just their mother's lives, but in their lives, and that made me, proud to see the growth in him that he's, evolved into that type of individual where he was getting, you know, the accolades from different family members. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
was great,
Right.
you know. So yeah, that's my comment on it.
Um. Oh, we got one. We got another question.
Yeah, we got one more for 20 minutes.
It's been curse. Um. I heard a lot of people talking about this a lot. But sometimes you gotta be delicate the way you answer, and sometimes you just gotta be straightforward. With that being said, is being black a gift or a curse?
I think it's both. It depends on what stage you in, where you at, what you're doing, who you're around. You know what I mean? Whether it's a gift or a curse. At times, we can hear individuals, and I've been, and I myself have felt like, that what was me being black a curse because of not so much my life, but what I've witnessed and seen and read about from our people. Things that our people went through. Just the fact of losing voting rights. Just the fact of whenever the whole Juneteenth thing, like the Juneteenth thing to me is like a curse. It's like a curse because it's like here we as black people are celebrating being held slaves longer than we were supposed to. So
I don't even know what that meant.
so the Juneteenth, it's supposed to been about our ancestors, some of our ancestors, when slavery was over, they were still held slaves and didn't know slavery was over. That's what it's supposed to be about. And they didn't find out till
Wow,
the Juneteenth. So for
that's
me,
deep.
yeah, for me, it's a curse to celebrate. Why would we want to celebrate our ancestors being held in captivity longer than they have to? So that's a curse. Now, when it comes to us being, looked at as some of the best athletes, some of the best entertainers, that we're gifted in those areas. Now, could we be gifted in other areas? Sure. We've been gifted. There's gifted ones in science, math, but what's promoted is athletes and entertainment. So yeah, I think it's a gift to be um, amongst the people who now more people around the world are realizing that we were the first people in existence. Everybody, we were considered or are considered the Adam and the Eves of the planet. You know, so the Adam and the Eves of the planet. So that's our gift. our melanated skin is a gift because we can absorb the sun in ways that some other, nationalities may have a problem with. So that's a gift. So it's a gift and a curse to be black. The other going again now to the curse, being black is only part of who we are. Black is really a description that describes our skin color, yet we claim it as a people, we claim it as a nationality, and I've said on many occasions that a nationality is linked to a land and a constitution. So we call ourselves black. That means we don't believe we're not truly convinced that we're American. Even though some of us say, "Oh, we going to war," or things of that nature. But for all intents and purposes, America has showed us that we are not really. They don't really consider us as Americans when it comes to, for example, the young brother Carmelo Anthony, 17-year-old, where everybody's talking about, who was protecting himself from what information has been surfacing, is now sentenced to 35 years, you know, for when, you had, what was his name, Eric Zimmerman walked away scot free after pursuing a 16-year-old. So in those cases, are we really, gifted, or are we really cursed? And that's the legal system, because, as I always say, that we have another side that we don't claim, and that side that we don't claim, that we don't know about, gives us the right to claim our own government and all of that kind of stuff. But that's a whole nother story. But what's your thought?
Yeah, that is. I would, me personally, I gotta say that being black is a gift because I'm a proud, you know, I'm a proud black man or original man. Um, the curse part, the curse part, that's a hard word, but we know it's a real thing. You know what I mean? Uh, we know it's a real thing because I think you said it earlier about not being able to vote, not being able to sit in the front of the bus, not be able to go to school, what schools you wanted to go to, not be able to sit in restaurants. Um, that part right there, that's when you could be considered saying uh, it was a curse. But then some people might say that's from a long time ago. What about now? What about now was like what you just said, Carmelo Anthony.
Absolutely.
What about now is Draymond, Draymond, what's the last
Martin,
name? I forgot.
Trayvon Martin.
Draymond Martin. Uh, what about now is the guy that got choked, or the guy that got killed over the cigarette, selling cigarettes outside. I should know their names too. Um, so it's still what about? It's still a curse, far as that concerned. Um, we still go in stores and people follow us that work there. It just happened to me like a week ago. We still sit in cars and people pull up next to you, and then when they get out they lock their door 20 times. That's the killer for me. Like I could be sitting in a car, you pull up in the car, and then you going in this grocery store and you just steady locking your door, and then sometimes they come back and check it. Like, yo, I'm sitting in a car, so I'm gonna get out of this car and take your car. So even though it's a curse toward us, it's stupidity to the other people. It's stupidity to think that every black person is a criminal. Every black person is lazy. Uh, every black person is a thief. And people really, it's people that really believe that. It's people that really believe that all black people is lazy, all black people are on welfare, all black people is ignorant. It's really people out there who believe that in 2026. So when you look at it from that point of view, I guess that's the curse, but that's their problem. Our curse, that's their problem. You know what I mean? Because now the way the world is now, you could do anything you want to do. You could live where you want to live. You could eat where you want to eat. You could drive what you want to drive. You could do whatever you want to do. What now? Whether you're gonna get looked upon different, yeah. But see, back then you couldn't just say I'm gonna do it anyway. But now we can say we gonna do it anyway. Oh, it's nothing but white people in that pool. We still could go in that pool. They just let them get out. You know what I mean? They don't want us going over here. Oh shit, we could go over here. You know what I mean? Let them just mean muggers. So I think that's the difference with the curse is that the curse was a real curse back then, and now the curse is more like, to me, the curse now is more like they problem. You know what I mean? So if you're afraid of black people, that's your problem. You know what I mean? It's a curse, but it's your problem. If you think all black people is lazy, that's your problem. If you think all black people is ghetto, that's your problem. If you think they all lazy, that's your problem. Because for every lazy black person that you show me, I'll show you a lazy white person, a lazy Spanish person, a lazy Jamaican person, a lazy Korean person. You know what I mean? So it's a gift in knowing your heritage and knowing uh, uh, where you've been and where your forefathers been, and understanding the strength of being black. Um, then it's a curse by be saying that in 2026 people we still looked upon like, you know, we the lesser of the of whatever you want to be. But still, I'm gonna say that's their problem, not our problem, because you know, nowadays you can do whatever you want to do. If you got money, if you got knowledge, if you got power, you can do whatever you want to do. So that's what I think about it.
Yeah, but you made a good point when you said, there are some people who believe that all of us are up to no good. You know,
Yeah,
we here to hurt and harm when statistically if you go back in history and you examine history, Europeans in this country have been more violent towards our people than we have been towards them.
Yeah, of
You
course.
know, so it's misconstrued based on there's still places where Europeans, aka white people, live and they're not around us as a people.
Right.
And the real travesty is done by America and the United States government because they the last thing they want is all people to unite because then they lose power. Remember,
Yep.
the police, the army are all people from the community. So
Yeah.
if everybody changes the way that they look at each other, now the system falls apart. The system only works because people get the mindset of somebody's enemy. America is good at creating an enemy. And we have been number one enemy for, I like to say, decades, at least over a century. We've been the enemy.
I
Go
don't want to
ahead.
cut you off, but know what I want.
Go
Know
ahead.
what I want. I wanted to say this that a lot of people probably don't think about how depression and anxiety and panic attacks and suicide and all that. You know, black women is the lowest people in the world. They don't commit suicide. Shot like 1%. Think about it. We never really thought about that, right?
Mm.
Everybody commits suicide. Black people, white people, every race commits suicide. Men, women, children. But know what? Ladies, black women don't commit suicide. I think it's
That,
like 1%.
well,
I was
yeah,
like,
that's
damn,
deep. That's deep, man.
that's
That's
deep.
deep.
And I
Yeah, and
thought
that's
about it. I was like, you know what? You never hear about that. You never
yeah,
heard about a black woman committing suicide.
yeah.
You hear about everybody else.
Well,
One
that's a
percent.
that's a
One
good
percent.
point. That's a good point.
That is.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely need to dive more deeper into why they don't.
Why?
You know what I'm saying? What is it so special about them that they choose not to go that route? You know what I mean? So that's
black
that's
black
definitely
women black women do
yeah,
not commit suicide. Like one
yeah, that's
percent. That's like one out of what 100 might do it. Like or 1,000 or something like that.
yeah, that's hey,
When
that's
I
that's
when I
that's
heard that, I was like, that's deep.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
But
we
anyway,
definitely
I
would,
wanted to throw that out there.
yeah. But that's about our time, But we definitely
Yeah.
would like to, get a little deeper into the psychology of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of what makes black women, kind of immune to wanting to commit suicide. I'll just say off the top of my head, they deal with so much, on a daily basis, they develop the tough skin. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So they're so busy ready to thrive. So taking their life is the last thing on their list because they trying to create life,
Yeah.
sustain life,
Yeah.
and
What
maintain life because they have a lot of individuals dependent on them. You know,
that let yeah, that too.
yeah,
They got a lot dependent. They because most of them is the head of the households now.
absolutely, yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
yeah,
A
so
lot of
yeah,
single parent homes and stuff like that. So
right. Oh,
yeah,
so that's yeah.
black women don't commit suicide.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's definitely interesting. All right, that's about our
Yeah.
time, brother.
All
It's
right.
been a pleasure as usual. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate you. We try to keep it real. We try to, put you all up on game, let you on peep game, what's going on. That's what we here for. If you guys think of something that you would like to talk about, put it in the comments and we can talk about it. We here for you. You're here for us. You know.
Exactly.
So yeah. So let the people know about
Oh,
tomorrow.
yeah, I'll be on Facebook Live and TikTok tomorrow at 10 o'clock, keeping it real. I don't really know what I'm gonna talk about yet. I got ideas, but I really don't. I never know until like 30 minutes before the show what I'm gonna really
Oh,
talk about.
okay.
I had a couple of ideas, but I don't know. I don't really know.
And
But I'll see y'all tomorrow at 10.
Sunday, 9 o'clock, one of my other 17th Ave brothers and I will be on the 17th Ave Family Live podcast at 9 o'clock. So we'll be on. So tune in to that. So that's gonna be interesting as well. And like you said, we'll know what we're talking about when we get started. So,
Yeah,
love yourself,
I'm
be
looking at
patient.
I'm
Go
looking
ahead.
at Prince. I'm looking at Prince riding horses in Jamaica.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
So
yes, yeah. Be patient, be focused, love yourself and each other. Until next
that's
week,
right.
we leave you all in peace.
Peace.